listening to Blue Collar Takes with your hosts, Pat and Ben.
Everybody, Pat,
Yep.
what is happening?
I don't know.
Well, let's recap, man. We were going to jump on last night for the election, and with being out and about with no service on the road and how crazy things were, it wasn't going to happen. And then we're pretty much in touch the entire time. So here we are the day after, and my God, what a night.
Let's be honest, Ben.
Mhm.
Why didn't we do it last night?
Because you think I was a mess.
You were, man, if I read the text messages back and forth, like
We don't need
I
to do that.
honest to God, I thought I was gonna have to call and get you help. Like somebody
Bro,
get that man a drink and tell him to take a Xanax or something.
bro, I don't have the faith that you do. Like you were like, no, bro, just stick with it. And I was like, man, I've seen this fucking shit before. Like the blue wall is there. They're gonna shut down at fucking midnight. Everybody's gonna say go home, and then 3 o'clock in the morning, we're gonna wake up. We're gonna have fucking Kamala Harris as the president, and I'm gonna have to fucking grab a rifle and get to work. That's that's all that was. And I wasn't the only one. I had probably 7 or 8 of my buddies from the military were all like, "Are you fucking serious right now? Is this happening again?"
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like I said, I'm like, what network are you watching? I gotta watch that because Fox News in the first, like it flipped really fast for Fox News, but in the beginning they were all kind of negative. Like it looked like for real that this wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, so I spent most of my time not actually watching a single network. I was just on Twitter or X and reading some of the stuff there and just from some of the stuff just doing research for the podcast, stuff like that. Like people that I've found that seem to be numbers people, both Democrat and Republican. Um, and following them, it felt like honestly, it felt like the networks last night were trying to drag it on as long as they could
Right?
because there were a lot of calls that were made that weren't called. Like I don't know, I told you Georgia was called like what 2 hours before
Oh
Fox
yeah,
called it.
it was at least an hour. And even at the end, you called Wisconsin, and Fox wasn't going to give Wisconsin either.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm sure
So
the excuse for them is going to be like, well, we don't want to be first, we want to be right.
so
Uh,
remember they dealt with that with Florida,
mhm.
right? They called Florida way too early. And I don't think that they've recovered from that, to be honest. Like
No,
that decision room, they don't ever want to have to. And we saw it last night. The
yeah,
group I
they
was
were,
looking at called Virginia way too early. Then it got super close,
yeah,
and they pulled Virginia down. But then they immediately put it back. Like within 20 minutes, they put it back to Democrats.
uh,
So
kind of a funny story. I was watching the, I was watching Fox News, and I was watching they were getting prepared for Trump to come out on stage and give his acceptance speech, right?
yeah.
His victory speech. And one of our buddies, one of our listeners, keeps texting me. And he's like, "Oh, we just need Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, and we're in." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"What the fuck?" I'm like, "Bro, are you behind?" I said, "He already has Pennsylvania. He already has Wisconsin. He's at 277 right
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
He's getting ready to accept it. Like he's about to come out on stage and accept it."
Mhm.
And he's like, "What?" And then he texts me back and says, "Google has him at this." And it was like 264 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like
So
Google wasn't going to give him the election at
no,
all.
nobody was.
Yeah,
They and Trump forced their hand when they did it. Like for Pennsylvania to get called by most, or no, it wasn't Pennsylvania, it was Georgia. For Georgia to get called by most people last night,
hmm
the Secretary of State came out and said, "Listen, there's only 100,000 votes left, and he's got more than 100,000 votes. So if 100% of the last remaining votes went to
right.
Kamala, it's still over.
I
He won." And that's when they called it, which is irritating because, like I said, it was called by the group I was listening to mostly last night was um, they're called Decision Desk HQ,
Yeah, you kept throwing that out there. They were well ahead of everybody else.
well ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, Uh,
and it just felt like, and they had to pull back Virginia, but they got it right. Like I think they pulled it back because no one else was, and it got super close. But they
yeah,
had it right. Like they had it right.
yeah, they went for Kamala, and then they pulled it back because Youngkin had made his comment about, well, hold on, let's see where it goes,
Yep, yep.
and then she pulled away in Virginia, which is expected.
Well, and the other thing that I think is why they maybe pulled it back was watching all these Senate races flip,
Yeah, that was
like
crazy.
Pennsylvania. Have
Yep,
they called that one yet?
I
They
haven't.
call Ohio. They called Ohio,
Yep,
right? He won West Virginia. He
hmm
won Montana, or the
yep,
GOP won Montana and West Virginia, which were expected. Ohio was supposed to be close. Sherrod Brown was,
I
however, he's done it. He has survived there. So
yeah,
he lost.
I can't believe.
Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona. Like I was, what's the Arizona one? Have they called that yet? I haven't been able to watch anything because the girls have been all over me
I'm
about
looking right now.
other stuff, not politics. Dad, what is this? Dad, turn on a movie. So I haven't been able to see a whole lot. I've got Fox up on my TV right now. I've kind of moved locations so I can see just the bottom ticker as stuff are coming in. Um they said last night they said that the House was going to go to Republican and then they switched it to Democrat and now the Republicans have flipped one more seat, so now they're looking at maybe making gains in the House,
Yep.
but it's going to be a one seat gang. Like if they make it, right? Like it's still too close to call any of that. But it appears that it will be a trifecta win for the GOP. And it appears that the Senate is going to be 53, 54 seats GOP, not just the 50. So that's huge because the people that will dissent, Trump will get whatever cabinet he wants now
Yeah,
because
that's the big thing.
he's got the extra votes. The
Yeah.
biggest thing about the Senate also is they can do, like everybody's talking about how the tax stuff, like they're not going to be able to get by the filibuster. Um, the tax bill can be done through reconciliation, like they did before, like the Democrats have done with, what did they do that with? They did it with something that wasn't even, they called it a tax and it wasn't even a tax, but they was that Obamacare, right?
Yep.
They
Yep.
did it through reconciliation
Right.
when they finally admitted it was a tax and not a fee.
Well, yeah, when they
Yeah,
finally, it was a tax and not a,
of
wasn't a
course it
fee.
was.
What was it? It was
Hmm.
yeah, after it was described, it wouldn't be anything like that. It wouldn't be a tax, wouldn't be anything. And then the
Yeah.
Supreme Court upheld it as a tax, and that's how it stayed. Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. So they can do that without the filibuster. So that, I mean, that, did you see the stock market today?
Yeah.
I took a picture of it
Yeah.
because I wanted to
Well, it
be right on the
reacted.
quotes.
It reacted. I mean, there was people last night on X saying, um, they're not a fan of, these are like business moguls saying they're not a fan of Trump, but tomorrow they're on flights to go to wherever, Dubai and China or wherever, to say, hey, calm down. There's not going to be a 28%, tariff or tax on
Correct.
their companies. So
Hmm.
they're still strong. So the market reacted today for sure and just exploded,
Yeah.
which is good.
One of the small cap Russell 2000, that soared to 6.2%. Bitcoin jumped 8%.
Bitcoin throughout the night last night was going
Hmm.
crazy.
Yep. But as we were getting closer, that's why I kept telling you, like, you're like, man, I just read this article about how they're manipulating markets.
No,
And I was
not
like, yeah,
markets. The
the
betting,
poly market, right? The betting
the
markets.
betting, and that's a fact. I mean, that's
Of course.
what can happen in that. All I was trying to say in that is like the same that can be said for a lot of stuff is when there's outside influence, there's outside money coming into those bets. It's not just Americans that are betting, and they're putting that percentage higher and higher and higher in Trump's favor based on the betting, right? Like more people are betting, saying, "Oh, I know I'm going to win because I was part of it." But you had people from all over the world betting because they were going to make money. So it's manipulated. It's not like you can't take the betting market as like, oh, it's a solid. This is it. This is a great. I don't know.
Up until it starts to close. and then you see people aren't going to drop a ton of money on there if that person's not going to win. Like it's just a loss of money. Like I get it, like, and they do for sure before, but once polls start closing and the markets start switching, like they start moving, you can pretty much track that with how everything kind of moves the last couple of elections, right? Like they haven't
Yeah.
been around forever,
So
but
I
that's how it
watched.
kind of works.
They were talking about this last night too on Fox because Britt Hume tried to use this a couple
Hmm.
years ago with the betting markets, and he was completely wrong because of the outside influence. But he's also used it in the past, and it was completely right. So he talked about how when he was giving his little spiel, like he was kind of funny how he said it. He said he was on a panel with a whole bunch of people that were extremely intelligent, and they'd already used all the stuff to talk about.
Hmm.
So he just looked down at his phone the first time and he was like, "Oh, I'm just going to talk about this." And he's like, "Hey, the betting markets are up really huge right now. It has, so and so ahead." And everybody's like, "No, not a chance, not a chance." And then he ended up being right. And so he's been the guy who's talked about the betting markets ever
Hmm.
since.
That
And
was
so
with Hillary.
and he kind of explained he won the first time with it, and the second time with Trump, he didn't win, and then this time,
Yeah, but we
obviously,
we know that there was issues with the second one, right?
right, 100%.
She got 20 million less votes than Biden did so far.
Yeah, is that? I mean, tell me you cheated in the last election without telling me you cheated.
Okay, so I agree that there was some of that. I think a lot of that 20 million though was the states that just sent out ballots to everyone. Like
You mean the
people,
last election? Yeah.
yeah, what'd I say? Sorry. The during COVID when
Uh-oh.
are we good?
Yeah. You broke up there for a second.
During COVID, some states just sent ballots to
Yeah.
everyone. You didn't have to
Everyone.
request them.
But
And so that's where a lot of that fraud came in.
yeah, that's
Not
still
not only
fraud
that,
that's still fraud and
of
cheating.
course, but that wasn't like someone actively going and trying. You know what I mean? Like, yes, you
Well,
actively
see,
committed the fraud, but you didn't initiate it. Like they
I
sent out all these ballots to people that they didn't even check, and they were just floating around.
yeah,
And
but I
now
see
you
that's where
have
I disagree. I think it was a hell of a lot more organized than that because of the ballot harvesting. When you see the numbers and like
sure, but
I
there's
think there
no
was like
chance that there
maybe
was.
I think there was maybe a handful of the drop boxes in swing states that actually were under camera coverage. The rest
Mhm.
weren't. They went to court for it. The court shot it down, saying, "No, it's fine. Those ballot boxes can be used. There's no chain of custody on those ballots whatsoever." You had the same people repeatedly going to the same boxes for weeks, dropping off ballots. You had states unilaterally making their own decisions outside of the Constitution about ballot boxes and ballot harvesting,
Yep.
and we know that it took place. I think that was organized and I think that was designed. I think COVID was the cover for it, honestly, so they
Yeah.
could get to what they were doing.
Sure.
And that probably did swing that election. And I'm sure there was other things.
Yeah, I
There's no
just
doubt in
don't.
my mind.
Yeah, I just don't think all 20. What I meant was all 20 million didn't come from that. I think
No,
a lot
not at
of
all.
them came from people that were never going to vote, never even going to attempt to get a ballot, and they filled it out because what, it takes 3 seconds, you know. So like that could be on anything. Like you had a bad day one
Sure,
day, you know,
sure.
but and they just filled it because it was in their hand.
That could be. I mean, that could be. I mean, that's
Now
I don't know.
there's 100%. There's proof on all of that about the ballot box stuff. Like that, you can't say that there wasn't. Like there's
Right.
plenty of video about it.
And there's so much more too. Like the
Mm-hmm.
ladies in Georgia kicking out the poll watchers, closing down the polls, and then all of a
Yep.
sudden starting up
Milwaukee.
again. If they did the same thing, and then there
Mm-hmm.
was like we found before the Dominion voting systems that were in
Mm-hmm.
that local election where that lady had applied, or she was running for I don't know if it was mayor or whatever it was, but she was running for something locally,
Oh yeah, we
and
talked
she and
about that.
her and her husband voted for her, right, 2 votes
Mm-hmm.
in her district, and she received 0 votes after the Dominion stuff had tabulated everything, and the other two,
Mm-hmm.
a gentleman and another female had like he had 3,000 votes and she had like 1,800 votes. And so the lady who had voted for herself received no votes in the election, and she contested. She said, "Well, I know that there was two. My husband and I voted for myself." And so they went back and looked at it, and sure as shit, the machine flipped votes. And after they tabulated it, it was the guy who was leading the race who didn't have the votes, and it was her and the other lady who went to a
Mm-hmm.
runoff.
Yeah.
So we know that that machine was there, and over and over and over again, we knew the machine had the ability to switch votes
Mm-hmm.
because it's programmed into the machine. We know that the machine's connected to servers. Why? Because it's programmed to connect to servers. Um, that's they say that, oh, you can't hack in, you couldn't do this, and they said this in the last election. Well, how the fuck are you getting the how are you getting the tabulations done? Because the last election, in this one, I heard numerous things. Some states were running all the ballots to one center, and they were running them all through the same things, the same tabulators, right? Like Milwaukee had that issue last night with the
The
security seals and
secure,
the
well, it was
not being locked.
the security seals were on and intact, but it wasn't locked.
So other places, instead of like Milwaukee running just their city's ballots, other places had to bring all of their districts to one localized center and run through
Hmm.
that one center.
Hmm.
That wasn't like that in 2020. Like
Correct.
you saw it this time around. I think for me, there's a couple major difference in election security. You had Laura Trump running a election integrity group that was, I think it was like 5,200 people strong.
Did
They
you
had
see?
they had so many people in so many states, and immediately, right off the bat in the morning, they weren't allowing poll watchers to be in, and she already filed a lawsuit. And by 8 o'clock in the morning, the poll watchers were allowed to jump in
Yeah.
and
Yep.
watch. Right?
So just talking about those numbers for that, there it was 250,000 poll watchers for that they had amassed,
That's an
and it was
insane.
500 lawyers per swing state.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, they were. She said they were ready and they were
Mm-hmm.
mobilized to stop
Mm-hmm.
cheating, no matter where it was.
Yep.
Now, I don't know that. Of course, that had an effect
It
because
wasn't. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
no way that didn't. But I don't think like there was the ability in this one to cheat because of the early vote. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That
The
was the major Republican push, was to get out and vote early. We
yes.
talked about it on the podcast. Go vote early,
Mm-hmm.
get ahead, get that number ahead, so they have no choice. They can't take that away from us.
Yep.
And that helped. I think that was that and the black vote was like the deciding factor.
Yeah. Was it like 23% nationally?
Yeah, I
He
mean,
got he got 23%.
black men finally came out and said, you know what, this is fucking ridiculous. I know somebody who's being fucking worked over when I see it, because a lot of those guys have seen it, right? In their own communities, they've been worked over. They know that the political establishment uh is really just trying to control their vote. They get
Mm-hmm.
it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think the biggest mistake that the fucking Democrats made was lawfare, going after Trump. And when they like, he's a felon, he's a felon, he's a felon.
Yeah.
And the black vote was like, all I see is you guys being fucking, part of the system,
Mm-hmm.
gearing up towards, to go after somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And they made a massive, like, there's going to be plenty of people talking about where the mistakes were made. That was one of the biggest mistakes they made. And let's be honest, like Kamala, she had the deck stacked against her no matter what. Coming in with like 3 months, left in the race, after the damage they did to the economy, after the damage they did to this country, after all the bullshit. I mean, it was like a recipe for. It was almost like they didn't want to win this election. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh,
It,
I got two things.
mhm.
I got a video. That video I sent you from Scott Jennings about
Yep,
the
yep.
indictment of the election. I'll play that. But I want to go back to the lawyers and what they did to prevent a lot of stuff. It was as simple as, in one of the districts, they noticed there wasn't enough ballots. So they made them get more ballots before it was an issue. So call whatever you want to call that. It's obviously negligence. Cheating, yes, it could be if it's intentional.
It could be
100%.
suppression. It could
Yep.
be, but
That's exactly what it would be, right? You're
mhm.
you're making the line so long that people have to leave.
Right.
And you saw that a couple other places, like the election judge that got arrested for calling in the bomb threat to his own election facility, and then they tried to blame that one on Russia, but
I saw
that fell apart.
that was funny.
Well,
I
there's
mean,
they
that was right off the bat. Yeah,
Georgia
Russia. Okay.
Georgia Secretary of State came out and said that, and a couple of them, the calls did come from Russia. So I don't have any idea where that lasts. But if you're using a VPN, you have no idea where it's coming from.
Right. I mean, you could do like a fucking, I don't know what that
Yes.
app is, but you can pick a number from anywhere in the world to make a phone
Yeah.
call.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
I don't buy that shit at
No,
all. And
neither do I. But here we go. Here's a video from, or the sound from Scott Jensen or Scott Jennings.
This is a mandate. He's won the national popular vote for the first time since, for a Republican, for the first time since 2004. This is a big deal. This isn't backing into the office. This is a mandate to do what you said you were going to do. Get the economy working again for regular working class Americans, fix immigration, try to get crime under control, try to reduce the chaos in the world. This is a mandate from the American people to do that. I think I'm interpreting the results tonight as the revenge of just the regular old working class American, the anonymous American who has been crushed, insulted, condescended to. They're not garbage. They're not Nazis. They're just regular people who get up and go to work every day and are trying to make a better life for their kids. And they feel like they have been told to just shut up when they have complained about the things that are hurting them in their own lives. I also feel like this election, as we sit here and pour over this tonight, is something of an indictment of the political information complex. I mean, we've been sitting around here for the last couple of weeks, and the story that was portrayed was not true. And we were told Puerto Rico was going to change the election. Liz Cheney, Nikki Haley voters, women lying to their husbands. Before that, it was Tim Walz and the camo hats. Night after night after night, we were told all these things and gimmicks were going to somehow push Harris over the line. And we were just ignoring the fundamentals. Inflation, people feeling like that they were barely able to tread water at best. That was the fundamentals of the election. And so I think that both parties should always look at the results of an election and figure out what went right and what went wrong. But I think for all of us who cover elections and talk about elections and do this on a day-to-day basis, we have to figure out how to understand, talk to, and listen to the half of the country that rose up tonight and said, we've had enough.
So the big thing with that is that's a CNN panel, and he has been the only conservative on that CNN panel for the last couple months, getting his brains bashed in by the left in their attacks against Trump, and nobody agreeing with anything he's saying. And he's trying to point out repeatedly in a lot of interviews, he's been trying to point out, like, you guys are missing it here. I don't agree with what you're seeing, and that obviously last night spoke to that. But the big thing for me is there's no credibility left in the media, right?
Yep.
So when you have no credibility left in the media and you have an account, I mean, I don't know how many times last night I heard from one of the Democrats on the Fox panel. There's been more jobs created. There's been more oil produced. There's been more energy produced, and there's the economy's the better than it's been in the whatever, like the best it's been in 2 decades or whatever they said last night. And he kept saying that, thinking that that was going to score some kind of points with people that are watching. And none of that's true. Like, none of it was true. Nobody checked him. Nobody corrected him. Nobody did anything. That's on Fox News. Nobody corrected him, right? For this guy to come out and say that the previous 4 years under Biden, where he's killed fracking, where Trump completely unleashed an economic boom with oil production, to say that we're producing more oil than we ever have been in the recent decades, that's the shit with media. That's the problem. Like, everyone knows when he says inflation's under control. No, it's not. No, it's not. CNN was like, oh, the jobs, Biden's economy, it's the best economy in the world. No, it's not. Those are all lies. And what they're doing is they're cherry picking certain sections of reports, right? And they're stacking it up against everybody else, and they just cherry pick what they want and they put it out there, and they don't take everything in whole. And that's the American people, I think, are sick of it. They can see through it now. You've burnt your credibility. You don't have it. Now they're questioning everything. And you got guys like last night on Trump's, when he got on stage and he accepted the nomination or whatever it was, like, not the nomination, accepted that he won. He came out and gave his victory speech. Did you see what Dana White said when he was on stage?
Yeah.
How he thanked he thanked Joe Rogan, and he thanked what's the comedian's name? Trump did an interview
Tony
with
Hinchcliffe?
No,
The guy from the Theo Vaughn.
Theo Vaughn. Yeah, he thanked Theo Vaughn, and like And that's the thing right there. Those two guys, those interviews that they gave probably got Trump, especially the JD Vance interviews, probably scored Trump a ton of voters that he wouldn't have previously had. But those guys are the guys that are reporting the truth now. Those guys, I mean, oddly enough, for those guys, and they're making light of it, they're joking about it, and they're talking about it in jest how ridiculous things are. But when you have comedians that are kind of reporting the truth right now,
Mm-hmm.
and you have CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBC, like you have completely upended the power structure of the media complex. It doesn't work anymore for these people. The
Yeah.
propaganda never hit, it never stuck, and it never was able to gain traction. I mean, they we talked about it repeatedly. It had to get bad enough before it could get better for people to flip over and say, nope, I'm not doing it anymore. And we didn't know a week or two ago. The polls looked good, but we didn't know if it was really going to be bad enough to overcome what happened with Biden, right?
Yeah.
And again, like you said, this election, one of the biggest things that we didn't have was the mail-in balloting.
Mm-hmm.
So
Just a blanket, like we still had mail-in balloting, but we didn't have the blanket like
yeah, it wasn't you're
just send
getting
everyone a ballot. Doesn't
you get a
matter.
ballot, you get a
Yeah,
ballot,
yeah,
you get a
yeah, yeah,
ballot.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
everyone with a driver's license got a ballot. So how
Mm-hmm.
many illegals voted? Tons of illegals voted, and
Sure.
tons of
Yeah.
illegals probably voted in this one too.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait until Trump gets in office because that was another thing that was talked about. Uh, uh, Don Jr. is talking about it on X. I can't. And he said after this election, do you think we should get in and see how many illegals voted, how many people who were dead voted? Should we scrub voter rolls and do a thorough breakdown? And I can't remember what the reporting came back of yes to no ratio, but it was almost like 100%. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Why
For
wouldn't
sure.
we look at that? Um, just a massive night, a huge win. Like you said, he's going to get his cabinet. That means, I mean, we were worried that RFK would never get through, right?
I
And he'd
still
have
don't
to be an advisor.
I still don't think he's gonna be a cabinet member.
I do.
Do
If
you?
you would have heard,
Where?
yeah, 100%. If you would have heard Trump last night talking about,
I heard him.
oh, did you see him? We're going to let him go. Don't touch
Yeah.
oil, but
That
you can
was
do whatever else.
when he
Have
went to
fun.
vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his press conference when he went to vote. Like
No, I
I,
saw that
I
too, but he said it again on stage when
oh
he
yeah,
declared.
yeah, yeah. But I think the bigger one was when he went to vote, he talked about it a little bit more. And he
Yeah.
talked about everything specifically, like do what you want to do. And then he joked about the whole like maybe not oil. You're leaving that to me. Like,
Right.
you know, like
Yeah.
you
He
can
did
do
it again last
everything
night.
else. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He did get on stage and it left you with the when he said, "Go ahead, have fun." It left you with
Hmm.
the. I think RFK is going to be in the DOJ. I think he's taking it over, and
Maybe.
I think because RFK has successfully sued so many corporations and companies, I think they're gonna. I think Shanahan's going to be somewhere in the health administration. I think RFK is going to be the DOJ, and I think those two are going to frickin' they're going after him. And
Hmm.
he said he's going to make America healthy again, but I don't think that's it for RFK. I think RFK's got bigger things to go after because
Well,
he's a pit
remember
bull.
they talked about the assassination
Yes.
commission or whatever,
Yep.
investigation or whatever on all
Yep.
the assassinations.
Yep.
They've talked about several things. So the DOJ would make the most sense for me, or Attorney General because of the lawsuit stuff. How he talked about how they're going to go after all of these licensing boards for
Mhm.
racketeering, for
Absolutely.
um for essentially forcing people to take the pharmaceutical stance on stuff or they lose their license. So that would make the most sense for me. I'm not sure. He wants to do so much that I'm not sure that putting him in one cabinet, that's my only thought. Is like what position could they give him where he can do agriculture? He can do, I mean, I know he can go after them with lawsuits and stuff like that, but like
Mhm.
to actually make the changes in the Department of Ag, the Department of Education, the Department of Health, like, and the DOJ. Like I'm not sure. So part of me thinks, well, maybe he'll let him, like help him pick the cabinet members for those, and then
Good.
him kind of oversee them,
Yeah.
right? Like as a
Yeah.
special advisor to the president or whatever, and so he can work on everything and not be bogged down with other things in each of those departments.
I mean, that's definitely a possibility, but I don't know that in 4 years they're gonna be able to get everything that RFK wants done.
Oh,
I hope they
I
do.
think they're just gonna
I
fucking do it.
hope they do.
I
I'm
honestly,
like foaming at the mouth for this, and I hope they blast through it. And you might be right. Maybe they'll put somebody in, but he's such a pit bull. And I honestly I think this administration we've talked about in the past, this administration has the potential to be far different than all other administrations before. And why do I say that? I say that because you brought it up, I think 2 podcasts ago,
mhm,
that RFK has been working for the transition team. They have it set up. They've been working for months in advance. Um, and they've been hiring their people, right?
mhm,
In a typical administration, it's not all your people, right? So you're getting the infighting, you're getting dissent, you're not working together. You're not going to be able to get like the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Housing, the DOJ, and uh whoever else working together. Not per se. That it's not going to be like a open hand relationship. Or this, I think, is different. This, I think, they're setting it up so that everybody's involved in planning, and everybody's going to be involved in going forward. I think they'll have a war plan or a game plan, an op or whatever it's going to be, some sort of mission plan that they want done. And I think they're putting those pieces in place almost like they're, battlefield commanders. And the DOJ, I think, is the spot to run it from. Bring me lawsuits, bring me this, bring me that. What do you need done? This is what I want done in your thing. Who do I have to sue? Who do I have to,
mhm.
you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you can make legislative changes, and they will in the first 2 years to get whatever they need through and whatever they need done. But you're not holding people accountable. And that's what I keep hearing him say is he's going to hold people accountable, hold people accountable. And to me, that has to go through the DOJ. And you're right,
Yeah,
he could oversee all of it and still do the same thing. And it doesn't matter at this point. I mean, doesn't matter at all because we're in, they're in.
yep,
So it
for
doesn't
sure,
matter where he lands as long
for
as it
sure.
gets done. I don't give a fuck. It just needs to get done.
Honestly, I'm not sure what triggered this just now, but I just had this thought. Um, I could see him making him chief counsel. Then he's able to
Yeah,
do all that shit,
there you
right?
go. That's
Yep.
exactly it. That's the
Mm-hmm.
spot where you could make him,
Yep.
and he is the most lethal. That's probably where he will go.
Yep. That's what I'm thinking now.
Yeah, that's where he will go. I
You
bet you
talking
money.
about the lawsuits, I think that's where it's going to go because who deals with all that shit? The chief counsel
Right.
works with the DOJ. They work with every agency. That's where it's going to go.
Yeah, that would be the place to put him because he
Mm-hmm.
can go through everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, that's that's a good call right there. That's probably where he is going to go. That's where he'll land.
Yep. I
And
think
he
so
will do
too.
the most. You'll get the most bang for your buck,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to get a pound of flesh from everybody,
Yeah,
not
because
just
what does the chief counsel do, right? Like they're only working on the priorities of the president
right.
and not like running an entire agency. So that's where and I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner, but I think that's where his best fit would be.
And the chief counsel's office is like everywhere. So I mean,
Yes,
I mean,
they're everywhere.
you're in every state.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you have the advantage there of being a part of everything all at once.
Correct.
So, and I mean, if you think about it, now throw on top of that Elon's restructuring, Elon's
Mm-hmm.
efficiency,
Mm-hmm.
bro. Like you could, I mean, I don't know. This could shape up to be the most insane 4 years of
It's
any
not.
presidency that we've been alive for. That
Yeah.
includes 9/11. Like that, this could be the most insane 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
9/11 was crazy. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
it wound my ass up in the Middle East and
Mm-hmm.
kicking indoors, and that was crazy. But even 9/11, as a response to what happened in this country, is not going to be as just over the top as what could come out of this if they do everything they say they're going to do. I just want to walk through this. If Trump implements the things he wants to do, no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime. If he wants to bring back tariffs on companies, you're going to get a 18% corporate tax or even lower possibly for anybody who's making American-made products. The jobs, the economic engine, the jobs are going to come back. If he restructures trade deals again, if he stops the freaking endless money, if he shuts down the fucking borders, if he deports illegal immigrants, and he said starting with those who've committed crimes,
Yep.
if he does that right off the bat, already you're having a massive impact in the American economy already.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes farther than that. If he's transparent, if he releases the JFK files, if he releases what he said he would do with UFOs, if he does that, if he goes further and shows the American public as he's put together his coalition that this is what's taking place, and he builds a freaking wall against the deep state and the establishment, if he goes for term limits like he's talked about, if he
Mm-hmm.
lets big pharma be brought down for the crap that they've done for years, there's nowhere left to run. If he unleashes our economic energy apparatus, if he lets us drill, if he lets us frack, if he gives those permits back so that we can have oil again and be rich, if he does what he says last night, if he pays down the debt, Elon comes in and saves us $2 trillion a year on budget. Think about that. $2 trillion a year on budget. $8 trillion over the 4 years. No president has ever saved that kind of money.
Mm-mm.
If he restructures the Secret Service, the CIA, the FBI, which he has talked about doing,
Mm-hmm.
if he does those things, bro, this country changes overnight. The control mechanisms that have always been in place to control politicians, the control mechanisms that in nation building that have pissed off the entire Middle East and every poor nation on the planet, if all that changes and he does that, there's no president outside of maybe George Washington that will touch, and Abraham Lincoln that will touch what he has done. And like you said, he wants a legacy. So
Mm-hmm.
we could very well see something that we never thought possible. And buckle up, get your helmets and strap them in, because I don't know that a lot of the left are ready for it. Remember, Rob Reiner said that if Trump was elected, he would burn himself alive.
Prove it.
Did you see the tweets at him today?
No, not at all. I forgot about that completely.
Hey man, I got a can of gas and matches. When do you want to meet up? Like
Yeah.
just all these tweets. I'm leaving the country. Like all these people are my credit card information. I'll give you that if you want me to buy you a plane ticket. Get the fuck out. Like
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of it. A lot of people freaking out and screaming and going after it.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of stuff. So I was talking to one of my brothers, and we're kind of talking about the election and whatever, and he said that he wasn't gonna say anything to anybody, that because we know a lot of people that are lifelong Democrats. He said, I'm not gonna say anything to anybody except for the people that said they were gonna leave. And then it went to a whole bunch of memes on I started it with my favorite one from Tombstone, the guy saying, "Well, bye,"
Yep.
and just all sorts of them. But I don't know. It's did I send you that clip from Portnoy?
No.
I'm gonna play that because I think it's really important. I sent it to my brother that I was talking to last night, and he said, I cannot agree with this anymore.
So here's my thing. Like, all these people are saying they're going to leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
Leaving never would have entered yours or my thought process.
Correct.
Right? This is our country, right? And your country, I mean, for me, this is personal, right? Like, I understand, and just like you do, I know probably everyone who's hearing this probably understands and has accepted the sacrifice that it's taken during the Revolutionary War to win freedom, and then for the Civil War to win freedom for others, and then all the wars after that. Even though some of those wars were bullshit, right? People are still out there putting it on the line for this country. It's the greatest country on the planet. It never would have entered my mind, if I don't get my way, I'm gonna leave this country.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's the problem we have in this country. Like, you are the creators of the participation, trophy generation.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And they're like, well, I'm gonna pack up my toys and I'm gonna go. All right, man. Well, that's because we don't want you here. Then get the fuck out. Like,
mm-hmm.
If you're not willing to sit through and stick this out, I just sat through 4 years of the worst president that we've ever had, worse than Jimmy Carter. And if you look at how big of a failure Jimmy Carter was, I mean, Jimmy Carter stayed alive just so he could see Joe Biden fail. I mean, when they rolled that dude out in the photos the other day, that's a dead guy. That guy ain't alive. They've
Yeah.
that they've got him so full of embalming fluid or something. I mean, that dude was not alive. He did not look alive. Neither here nor there. But I'm just saying, we lived through this. We went through inflation. We went through, like how crazy everything is. Mortgage rates, food prices, gas prices, everything is ridiculous right now, right? And when Trump lost, I was like, yeah, there's something janky here. It's not cool. You definitely cheated at somehow, some way, a mix of things, possibly, whatever, but there's no freaking way the guy got 20 million more votes than Trump or 30 million more votes than Trump, whatever it was, from the basement of his house without some sort of cheating. There's just not a freaking chance. And you see that last night, that it's a mixture of things that they didn't have happen. But again, who the hell, if you love your country so much you're gonna leave it when you don't get your way? You know what I mean? Like that's when like Miley Cyrus and Tom Hanks and all these people.
Let's not forget why they're leaving though.
Oh yeah, of course. Now, their ideology, and we could say it now. I don't care. Like, hey, your name's on a list somewhere, bro, and it's coming out here shortly.
Well, I mean, a lot of them have already been connected. Like it's not hard to connect those. Yeah. You all tweeted about Diddy parties, and now we're finding out what the fuck that actually meant.
I can't believe, like, this is how fucking stupid these people are. They had J-Lo on stage at a Kamala event, right? Within the closing couple days, telling everyone to trust her. Bitch, you were with Diddy, who was raping children, and you knew about it. You want me to trust you? Take your happy ass to Greece. Get out. We don't want you. Right? Like, you're on stage crying. Yeah, let those tears flow because you know what's coming. There's about to be a reckoning for you when they figure it out. I don't care how pretty you are. I don't care if you're Jenny from the block. I don't care if guys love watching you shake your ass. That can't save you, and it shouldn't save you, right? Those kids were off limits. You knew about it. You're a part of it. But it just, how dumb are you as Kamala Harris? You have Diddy, who's in jail right now, has not been released on bail. He's looking at trafficking charges as trafficking. It's starting to come out now through court documents. Even Justin Bieber was trafficked by Diddy. And you're on stage at Kamala's rallies. You have to trust me, crying. We have to do this. Come on. The normal people who are tracking what's going on see right through your ploy. Your attractiveness used to be able to get you past. You being very good looking used to be able to get you past. People were just, oh my gosh, look at how beautiful this girl is. I'll believe whatever she says. That's long gone. You're tied to it now. And it's not just her. I mean, it's tons of these people. Like, again, Ashton Kutcher, like, boy, I sure hope P. Diddy doesn't lie about me. I'd hate for everybody to believe that I touched children at his house. I better move to frickin' Europe. You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro. Like, this kind of stuff is just, they're nervous, and you can tell, and they want to leave. Hey, we don't want you here. First off, if you don't love your country enough to stick around through the hard times and point out the flaws and fight for it and do something for it, that's like, we don't want you. If you're gonna say you want to leave, please renounce your citizenship right now and get the fuck out. Don't come back. We don't want you. We don't need you. The blue collar, we talked about the whole reason behind this podcast. The blue collar work groups are the economic engine of this country. The blue collar workers are the ones who have made this country, who maintain this country, who protect this country, who make this country exactly what it is, which is the greatest nation on the planet. And it's the greatest, freest nation on the planet because those same blue collar guys, those guys and gals that are out there busting their ass every day, are the same ones that'll go home at night, pick up a fucking rifle and say, hey, you know what? I think I got to go do this thing. I think, China's invading. Hey, where do I go? Who do I find to link up with? I got to sign the document that says I'm going to fight here, tomorrow. That's what we are as a country. That's what blue collar is. You do the dirty work that nobody else wants to do. And the elites, like the celebrities and shit, that complain and they piss and they moan, and at the end of it, they're like, yeah, I want to get out of here. I want to leave. I'm not going to stick around if Trump wins. The blue collar people are like, yeah, get the fuck out. We don't care. You've made your living pretending to be me. You've
Mhm.
made your living pretending to be a pipe fitter, a welder, you know, a freaking plumber, a whatever, a normal person. You're not normal. You're not. You don't care about families. You don't. All you care about is your self gain, your self interest. You have a personal chef. You have a personal trainer. You have a freaking assistant who keeps your life in order. You don't even pay your own bills. Half you don't even pump your own gas. You
Mhm.
don't fix your own cars. You don't do anything. You have people that go buy you what you need. They bring you there. They wake you up. They put your makeup on. They make you look fake. They take you to a fucking set that's fake. You act like you're me, and then you leave, and then you want to tell me what to be and what to do and how to vote. And then we find out you're touching little fucking kids all over the place, or you're part of these parties and doing stuff with these crazy people. And then you're gonna say in the last minute, if you don't vote this way, I'm gonna leave. Bye, Felicia. Go ahead, get out. We don't want you. You're
Mhm.
not needed. You're not adding to this country that much. Your job, your one job was to be the jester. That's what you're getting paid for. Dance like a fucking clown, dance like a monkey, entertain us, and then shut the fuck up. That's all you had to do. You couldn't do it. Now you want to get out? Go, leave. We don't need you. They piss me off more than anything. Like,
For sure.
I don't know.
For sure. Um, so this isn't going to be about that part of it. This is more of why things turned out the way they did.
Yeah, hit it and send that to me when you're done.
Okay.
All right. I'm about to go to bed. Call it. It's late. So this may be a little rambling. Donald Trump, next president of the United States, barring a huge miracle. He just didn't win. He won for fun. He won the electoral. He won the popular vote. He got more votes than last time he was president. Just a total ringing endorsement for the Republicans and Donald Trump, and an indictment against the Democrats. And that's really this rant. A lot of people are asking, like, how did Trump get more votes than he got last time? Well, here's the answer. Because people like myself, independents or moderates, the Democrats gave us no choice. The Democrats gave us no choice. That was the worst campaign, and their pure arrogance and their moral superiority have driven people away. If you say you're voting for Trump, suddenly you're a Nazi, you're Hitler, you're garbage. Enough. Enough. Like, yeah, I'm sure there's racists in the party, just like there's fucking crazy people and assholes and racists in the Democratic Party, all right? But millions and millions and millions and millions of people vote for Trump. He won clear, he won decisive. So when you call us that, and when you say that, you're calling the majority of the country racist, Hitlers, Nazis. I don't think you get the words of what that means. You are alienating all this middle ground people by acting like you're better than us, smarter than us, and frankly, insulting our intelligence. Trump's the threat to democracy. That was the entire Democratic campaign. It wasn't about policy because everyone knew we want change. We're not happy with the borders, the Middle East, the economy, inflation. And Kamala consistently said she was no different than Joe Biden, wouldn't do anything different than Joe Biden, last person in the room. Her pitch to the people was Trump is Hitler, Trump is bad, he's a dictator. Again, we're not stupid. The Democrats were the one who were saying Joe Biden was mentally fit for 2 years when he's a vegetable and couldn't even make it off stage from giving a speech. And the Democrats would lie to our face and say the videos were edited, altered. They weren't. Then, after the primary is over, they stage a coup, get rid of Joe, put in Kamala, and suddenly she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Same woman who ran for president got 0 votes. Same woman who can't even answer a question how she's different from Biden. Ran one of the worst campaigns I've ever seen. Just strictly, her entire campaign was fear mongering. Well, Trump is a dictator. It'll be the end of democracy. It's garbage. It's garbage. The people pulling the strings in the Democratic Party, get rid of them. They've lost the plot. Tonight is on the Democrats. Congratulations, Donald Trump. I voted for him. And I felt I had no choice but to vote for him for the campaign that the Democrats ran. And it's not just white males, Hispanics, the black vote didn't come out for Kamala like they did. Again, it was a ringing endorsement for the Republicans, Trump, ringing indictment against the Democrats. They got to look themselves in the mirror. This moral superiority complex they have, this arrogance they have, it's not working. It's time to wake up and see that. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, you go down the list of all the things he said. I mean, those are podcasts that we've done. I mean,
Mhm.
every one of those things, and that's
Mhm.
the reality of it. It got as bad as it got, and the American people chose differently than what they have, right? It had to get this bad. And if go back to it again, I mean, you are kind of more of a you're kind of a libertarian, a conservative libertarian. That's more of your jam. And you've said that repeatedly. I'm more of a conservative constitutionalist. I don't need to vote Republican in every election. If I find somebody like an RFK who is saying he's going to do things that I want done, I would
Mhm.
absolutely vote for an RFK. Constitutionally
Yep.
and protection wise, I would absolutely vote for that. And we've talked about it in the past as well that the Republican Party shifted to the left. Donald Trump made the party shift a lot more centrist with some conservative details, but
Mhm.
everything shifted left. I mean, the left
Mhm.
got even far left, and then you had a portion of the Republican Party try to pull way far right, and you have the extremes, right? You have the poles in either party. Um, the big thing out of all this is exactly like he says. I mean, that those are the Democrats and the media went after the American public. They tried to get, and well, I'm using this term loosely, tried, but
Yeah.
it seemed like they were trying everything they could to get Trump assassinated. If you didn't want a guy like Trump to be assassinated, you would stop all the rhetoric. You would stop labeling him Nazi. You would stop showing videos of Hitler while you're showing his rally, trying to equate the two. Those are things like we talked about before with that whole MK Ultra bullshit, where you're trying to shape somebody's narrative, manipulate somebody who's mentally not all there to think they're doing a great thing by taking a shot, which is what happened with Matthew Crooks, which is what happened with the other dude. I don't even know the other guy's name. Uh,
Yeah, I
and
don't either.
that's what happened. I mean, that's these guys are mentally not stable, and somebody is gonna think that they're gonna be a hero, right? Like you or I, if we could go back in time and stop Hitler, we'd do it. You know what I mean? Or if we knew that somebody was going to be a Hitler in the future, we'd do it. We'd stop them.
Mhm.
And here you have these mentally unstable individuals and a media apparatus. What did we say in the last podcast? It was like 88% negative coverage against Trump to like
Yeah, somewhere right around there. High 80s.
70 something positive coverage of Kamala.
Mhm.
I mean, like the disparity between those two is just fucking ridiculous. And not just like like we were saying, like Portnoy said, the negative coverage wasn't just Trump's policies are bad. The negative coverage had nothing to do with Trump's policies. It had everything to do with Trump as a person and what he was going to do to democracy, right? He's a danger. He's a threat. You have the General Kellys of the world coming out, former generals who sit on the boards of DC Capital Partners, right? He sits on the board of directors for that. He's part of the HHS group through Valiance Humanitarian, who was controlling the minors on a no bid contract, the underage, unaccompanied minors in these shelters, right? Who's lost 300,000 of them. People like this are coming out and saying, oh, yeah, Trump's evil. He's going to be a Nazi. He's an authoritarian. He's as much a dictator as anybody that's ever been in office. Oh, okay. I'll take that at face value, General Kelly. You know, like one of the things I saw last night just made me absolutely sick to my stomach is there was a Democrat on. It's I don't remember who the guy was, but he's a black guy. He's on. He's talking about one of the things that's helping out the Democrats throughout the night was the fact that all these, military members, people that are looked at as heroes by all of us military veterans, the
Mhm.
General Kellys, the Mattises, the Martin General Millies, and I'm like, motherfucker, you don't speak for about 95% of the military people I know.
Yeah.
You you're bought and paid for yourself. The true rank and file military guys always, always have looked at anybody over a captain like they're a piece of shit. Sure, there's some badass stories from guys like Mattis while in combat, but as soon as they hunt for the Pentagon, they all turn into the same fucking thing. And you see it, and they turned on Trump, and you see all these other people that have turned on Trump. And I think you said it a long time ago where you're like, I bet you we could figure out 95 to 100% of why they're turning on Trump if we just followed the money. And we took that. We started doing that. We started following the money all
Mhm.
over the place. And you see it. You can see the grift, whether it's climate change, whether it's freaking immigration, whether, you just see these grifts everywhere. where they're making money. Ukraine, oh, I'm gonna give you several billion more dollars. Oh, guess what? Nancy just bought stock in this defense department's company and this weapons manufacturing company. The grift, it's why it's so dirty, and the media's been a part of it, and they went on a tangent. I mean, he's right. Kamala's whole platform had nothing to do with making us suffer less. It had everything to do with making Trump suffer more. You know what I mean? And here we are. I just went to the grocery store the other day, $390 for something that would have cost me $220, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And she runs these fucking ads saying it has nothing to do with inflation. Inflation's fixed. It has everything to do with grocery stores price gouging. And that's why I'm going to come in and I'm going to put fixed pricing on everything like a real communist would. You know what I mean? The lies. It's just, they lost this on their own because A, Kamala is a terrible candidate. B, they screwed this country for the last 4 years because they figured if they could get enough illegals in and they could get the undocumented vote going, they would have a huge advantage. And C, I just don't think they were going to lose they didn't think they were going to lose the battle against Trump. They thought they'd have him in jail. They thought they'd have him off the ballot. They thought people would leave him behind. They thought they were going to tar and feather this guy so much that nobody would touch him. And he just kept coming. He did not stop. He called it out every step of the way. He kept going forward. And it's like he says in all his ads, he's taking the slings and arrows so that we don't have to. And he did. I mean, this guy, can you think of a candidate that has earned it more than he has?
No.
I mean, just look at the shit he has been through. Look at what he started at from the day he went down the escalator to where he is right now. We've never had a president with 2 attempts on his life, right? 2 assassination attempts. We've never had a president with 90-something indictments. You know what I mean? We've never had a president. He still has to go to sentencing at the end of this month with was it Erdogan? That guy, that crazy son of a bitch? He's still going to do that at the end of the month.
No, Erdogan was
Enron.
No, that was the right name. He was just that was the wrong case. That was the fraud case, the $460 million. The Mershon was the one.
Mershon. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, what do you say? I mean, there's Portnoy knocked it out of the park. You got to send me that video so I can send it to some of the people in my orbit.
I will. I'm just looking at some of the Senate races. Looks like Baldwin might win Wisconsin. She's up she's up like 29,000 votes right now.
That's disgusting.
99% in.
That's disgusting. I don't know how that flips so fast. Hubby was up by like 3% last night.
Yeah. Let's see, Nevada or Pennsylvania. Looks like McCormick is up by 70,000 votes, 50,000 votes. There's 97% in, so right now that's leaning Republican. Nevada, Brown is up by 1,000 votes, 900 votes. That's really close, but that's only 84% in, so that could go either way. See what else is still open. Michigan. Looks like the Democrat incumbent. Oh no, that's an open seat. Looks like the Democrats could win. It's 98.28% in. Slotkin is up about 9,000 votes. And I think that's all that's open. Oh, Arizona. Kerry Lake is down by 60,000 votes, but there's only 60% in. So
I wonder what's taking so long in Arizona. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Maricopa County.
That's ridiculous.
They can't figure out their shit. Did I send you that tweet about Florida? Like at
yeah, they
12:30.
We recounted again.
Yeah. Florida already recounted just for fun.
Right.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
Well, that's a state that had major issues that took it serious. They fixed it.
Well, and I mean, not only did they fix it, but DeSantis' leadership down there,
Of course.
he's put that. I mean, they are the pinnacle of election right now. I mean,
Yeah.
he saw what was done and he implemented all the rules and regulations that need to be put in place, paper balloting, every freaking thing. And
Well, but that was all done before DeSantis. You remember that was Bush. Gore.
the Bush Gore thing was the Chad, the hanging Chad thing.
Yep.
Then we switched machines, and then there was a whole bunch of laws. But DeSantis last election passed all the state laws to say, no, 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 we're not doing this freaking mass paper balloting thing. You have to apply for a paper ballot. He passed so many laws so fast
Sure.
that he kind of streamlined the election process. And instead of using digital machines, he only accepted tabulators. So there is no Dominion, there is no Smartmatic digital machines to vote on there. It's only tabulators. So they paper ballot count in Florida, and then they go that route through tabulators after. And it's kind of the gold standard. I mean, you've taken out all of the. I mean, I guess if we were in there and we wanted to cheat, we could still figure out a way to cheat, but it's hard to do.
There's always a way.
Right. I mean, the goal is to what? Just make it as hard as it can be to cheat. Like the fear of getting caught, and that's the other thing. The fear of getting caught in Florida, it's a hell of a lot stiffer penalty if you get caught than it is in other places. So I mean, that's the other thing he did with his elections that I think you need to do. And Trump said last night, well, not last night, not in his, claiming the, victory speech or whatever. But when he went and voted, he said, we need to figure this out. We need to go paper ballots. This all has to be figured out in one day. And what did he say the percentage of cost on the election? I can't remember what it was, but
I don't know.
he said that how much an election costs. And he's like, you'd be like 13% of that with paper ballots.
Yeah, I just all I meant was before DeSantis was they figured it out right after. Like they were early, even with before all the changes that DeSantis did.
Yeah.
And on the integrity stuff, they had figured out how to count everything well before everyone else.
That's such a weird, like that Bush Gore thing, like so like I don't know if people remember how ballots used to be way back when, but ballots still like you fill in the bubble. But when you put your ballot in a machine, it would read where the bubble is, and it would punch out the hole.
Yeah.
And that's how they read it. They would sift it through like a printer, and it would separate into each candidate's pile and give you a counter like it was money basically. And a bunch of the ballots that had a hanging Chad, if the Chad wasn't already knocked out, and the Chad is that piece of paper, right, that's supposed to be punched out. If that Chad didn't come out of the ballot, it threw you in a third pile saying, oh, it was a no vote. They voted out for some candidates, but not others. And then the fight between Gore and Bush was, well, some of these look like they've been punched, but not all the way through. Do they count as votes or do they not count as votes? And I mean, their race was really close. There was like 2 recounts and a lawsuit in Florida, right? So, and then eventually it just ended up going to Bush by like the narrowest of margins.
Yeah, that was
crazy
one of
times.
the tightest races for sure.
I hope Carrie Lake pulls it out. I think she's a great candidate. She's a warrior, but I just don't know that. I don't know that Arizona wants her. Yeah. Arizona's a healthy mix of some conservative and some liberal, and she tried to be real brash and real brazen and real, abrasive with people, and I don't think it's hitting as well as she hoped it would. She's trying to be the female Donald Trump. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She wouldn't be another. She'd be all right to have in his administration somewhere, maybe a press secretary or something like that. That she's not afraid. She knows how the media operates. She'd call it out. Or Kayleigh McEnany. I'd like to see Kayleigh McEnany back. That was always fun. I did hear something last night that kind of shocked me. and I don't know if this is actually going to happen or if this is, if it's even possible to have happen. But one of the liberal commentators last night said, okay, this is one of the greatest gifts that can be given to the Democrat Party because now they understand it took this long for them to realize they've gone too crazy. They've gone too woke. They've strayed way too far to the left to center. And we lost a lot of the people in the middle, which is exactly what Portnoy said. You alienated a lot of Americans out of this vote. And he said, this will bring us back to center. And when you bring it back to center, you're bringing it back to a position where you can work across the aisle. And he said he's hopeful that the Democrats, that Biden, all these people will be like, all right, enough of this lawfare crap. Let's end it. Enough of all this BS. Let's get back to working for the country instead of, being diametrically opposed or diabolically opposed, whatever you want to say. And just get back to extending the hand across the aisle and working for the American people. To hear some of them say that when you know how liberals have been acting it's nice to hear. I don't know if that can happen, especially with the agenda that RFK and Trump are going to unleash when you have Tulsi and RFK and Vivek and Trump and Tucker Carlson and Elon and Bongino and all these guys that are going to come in and clean house. Boy, you better buckle up if you're in the House or the Senate because it's going to be the hearings that we're going to see, the truth that hopefully comes out. I'm sure a few people are going to have some explaining to do why they went to Epstein Island while there was 14-year-old girls being raped on Epstein Island. Do you think right now, like, what do you think the percentage of Republican and Democrats are that are shitting their pants right now going, oh no? I mean,
just like representatives, like politicians, or like
yeah. No, just like people right now in office
in office.
that we know were at Epstein Island.
Man, I don't know.
I bet you it's over 20%.
You think it's that high?
I do. I think it's 20%.
Because there's been a lot of turnover since Epstein was.
Yep. Yep. That's true. There has been, but I bet you before, if this would have been the Hillary Trump election, I bet you would have been as high as about 35 to 40%.
Yeah, I can believe that for sure.
I think we're gonna, I don't know. I think you're Lindsey Graham's. I think you're Adam Schiff's. I think you're Nancy Pelosi's. I think Nancy Pelosi's husband is a little nervous right now. I think there's a lot of people who are like, oh shit, this is not good. And right now they're probably asking themselves, why didn't they fucking cheat last night? Why didn't this happen? Why didn't we win this? How?
Hmm.
It's coming. There's a reckoning coming, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Just trying to look up totals on the remaining seats. I don't know. I don't think that it's I don't think it's good for Carrie Lake. I'm not sure. I think it's time to move on from her. For whatever reason, Arizona doesn't want her.
They don't want her, and again, I think it's that abrasive attitude. She tried to be the
Probably.
Trump.
Yeah.
She tried to be the female Trump, and it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It works for some people, and it doesn't for others. And the reason why that works for Trump is because he started it, first of all, and second, they've targeted him every chance they've had. They haven't targeted Carrie Lake at all. She's just abrasive.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's working. You know what I mean? You can get away with being a bull in a china shop if the bull has no choice because they're coming after him, with daggers and swords, right? I mean, when you're trying to be a bull in a china shop and there's nothing like that happening to you, you're just a bull in a china shop. People don't like that. People don't want it.
Yeah. I mean, we'll still see. She's got 60% left, right? So, if that's election night vote that needs to be counted, then that's typically Republican. So
Yep.
we'll see.
you see? This is a giant slap in the face of the Democrats. The Republicans flipped the governor's mansion in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I did see that. That was great. I saw that last night.
Uh,
Hmm.
CNN's Van Jones holds back tears after Trump win.
All right, so we didn't talk about it. We only have a little bit of time left
Oh,
because
let's hit it.
I gotta go to pick up the girls. But did you, and I've completely missed this, and maybe we'll have to look it up for next time. Have you seen the stuff Ben Shapiro was saying about the Electoral College?
No.
Um, so they were at one point last night, they were worried about a 270, 268 Kamala Harris win. The problem with that is, according to the US Census Bureau, they screwed up the census last time and undercounted two GOP states and gave those electoral votes to blue states. And they've admitted that. But they apparently it's super hard to undo. Like there's nothing for them to be able to undo it. I don't think they can until the next census. So he's talking about how there's going to be, if it would have been, if Trump would have lost by 2 votes, one of those votes was supposed to be Florida. They undercounted Florida by a
Okay.
lot. So the Electoral College is not right. And he said that it would have been a mess. Like it would have been lawsuits for the Electoral College because the Census Bureau admitted it. That it was
Yeah.
overcounted in blue
I-
states and undercounted in red states, and that.
Yep, I remember.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean that. I mean, in that stage, I mean, what do? You probably draw those two back, put them in a tie, send it to Congress to decide.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I think you'd
Well,
have to.
if you draw those two back, right, that then puts that a 270, 268 victory for Trump. It's not a tie.
Was it a 270, 268?
Yeah, but if you take away 2 votes from her and add them to Trump
No,
in
you
the
wouldn't
red
add them.
states,
I don't think you could add them to Trump. I wouldn't
well,
say
if you
that.
draw them back into where they're supposed to be, those states went to Trump.
Yeah, I could just see them like, but either no matter what, through the election process, it would have went to Trump. Either a lawsuit and then those states they get it back. There's no way it would have been a civil war is what it would have been because there's no way
Yeah, I
Trump
don't.
or the Republicans would have let that happen. They would have fought and fought and fought. And if the Democrats like, yeah, no, this is where it stays.
Mhm.
Instead, I think what they would have done and been like, okay, take those two electoral votes off the table. Nobody gets them. It's a 268, 268.
Yeah,
Now
maybe,
we go through the
maybe.
process.
Yeah,
And since
but
we had the House,
that has to get fixed.
yeah, oh for sure. That could be a problem in the future. Why would you even leave that? You know what I mean? Why
Yeah.
would you leave that as a possibility out
I
there?
don't
That's
know.
just you're asking for trouble if you just
Mhm.
leave it out there.
Well, because they admitted it during the Biden administration. What are they going to do?
I'll be honest, that's not what I thought you were going to come out with.
What was it?
I thought you were going with our strike too.
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't talked about that one yet because I don't know if I really want the strike 3 yet.
Do we have to wait 90 days to talk about strike two?
Not 90, but probably like 89.
Well, can we just tell people that we
We
got our
got,
second strike
yes, for
and
medical misinformation.
and we weren't talking about medical
We're talking
misinformation?
about Jan 6.
Yeah. So again, I mean, uh, Al quoted the podcast last night. He said, "Yeah, well, it's blue hair tube that is screwing you guys over."
Oh, nice. I
So
like that.
it's blue hair tube from now on when we
Got it.
refer to them in this.
Hmm.
Blue hair tube gave us a second strike.
That's right. So I did appeal it, and it wasn't 3 minutes like last time.
Was it
It-
a 4?
It was an actual 2 full days,
Oh wow.
but we were denied.
We didn't even talk about medicals. There's no medical misinformation whatsoever.
There's nowhere to put that in there. So like when you appeal, it just says, "Would you like to appeal?" And it's, yeah,
There's
and then
got to
it's
be
it.
somebody
There's
to
it.
talk to.
Well, yes, I could sit on the phone all day if I wanted to.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
not
want
worth it.
to. Yeah,
It's not worth it.
no,
But blue hair tube got us again.
yes,
So now we got to wait 90 days from the first strike.
I'll have
And-
to go back and look at the strike,
that-
not the warning.
The strike, yeah. So, and we'll have to look at that. And then we're going to celebrate that coming off by promptly getting ourselves another strike.
Yeah, the only problem with that is there is zero chance we don't get another strike before Inauguration Day because of all the shit that they're going to be talking about with everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the RFK and all that stuff.
We just have to say allegedly 1,000 times.
I don't even think that's going to help us. But
allegedly.
yeah, I think that works for everybody else, but not us.
Well, it's kind of funny because the first warning was medical misinformation, right? The second, the first strike was not about vaccines, it was about masks. The second strike was not about vaccines, even though they say it's about vaccines again. But it was about January 6th. They just don't give. I mean, they can do what they want. It's their platform, and they're like, I don't give a fuck about you. You called me a blue hair, and I'm like, yeah, you're a blue haired pussy. So I'm sorry. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I apologize to anybody with blue hairs who's not
a pussy.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't know. This I'm sick of being called a fascist and a Nazi and all these things, and then they do shit like this, which is true fascism, true versions of it. I'm gonna stop your speech because I don't like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Forget the fact that it was a CDC study. Forget the fact that what you're saying is true. Forget all that. I don't like it. So I'm gonna give you a strike because I've got the power of blue hair tube behind me. So yeah, second strike. That was cool. You were so excited. You were so excited to get that second strike.
No, that's not what it was. I just knew that that's what was coming.
You came in so happy. I've never seen you so happy to be like, oh, they got us. They got us. You were so happy.
Yeah, but the one that they so we had the one strike, the warning, the strike, and then the one that was corrupted.
Yeah.
That is now apparently no longer corrupted.
Yeah,
and it works.
They figured that one out quick. Whatever. All right, well, I suppose we should start winding this down because you've got about 20 mics before you have to go pick up the daughters.
Yeah.
All right, so I did want to go over something real quick. There's a lot of people, Dan Bongino included, a lot of people within the security realm that are trying to get a message out to everybody right now, and I think we need to jump on board. Trump has won the election. But because of that, we are going to see some shit happen. There's going to be some people that are going to come out and do stuff, stupid stuff. It'll be the same people that are ripping down campaign signs, those types of people that are angry at the world, the same ones screaming at the sky. Don't get involved in it. Stay away from it. If you have a decal on your vehicle, get it the hell off your vehicle. Our job is done. We've won. We've given them the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It's their job to finish and do what we need them to do for us. Your job is over. You don't have to fight now. Just stay clear of it all. Be unassuming. Don't draw attention to yourself. And the reason why I say that is because I honestly think the next 90 days could be a challenge, security-wise challenge for people. I'm not saying you're going to get, drug out of your car and beaten and left in a ditch or anything like that, but I also don't want to see your tires slashed. I don't want to see paint thrown on your car. I don't want to see it keyed and, stupid shit that they've done in other places. Already last night, Antifa was out in Portland running around doing stuff because as they were watching, they were running around doing stuff. You've got the Free Palestine people who are running around doing stuff. So just keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel and stay quiet. If you've got a freaking Trump sign in your yard, just take it out of your yard. It's over. Election's over. Get it out of your yard. I know you're happy. I know you're proud of what we've accomplished here as a whole nation pushing in the right direction. But now it's time to look out for yourself. Don't draw attention to yourself that's unneeded or unwanted. And I do think we're going to see some stuff happen here in the next 90 days. Unfortunately, but I don't think it'll be near as bad as it could have been. I just think it's going to be temper tantrums and people acting up against others. Why do I say this? I say this because you can't call people a fascist. You can't label people Nazis. You can't do those things for a year or longer. I mean, we've been called Nazis and fascists now as Trump supporters for eight freaking years, but it got really bad in the last, 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
You can't undo that in somebody's mind, right? So just don't tip the hand. If you're in a situation where people are like, who are you voted for? Who did you vote for? You just, don't say.
Mm-hmm.
Read the room. Read the room and read what you have to do. It's don't get yourself into shit that you have to get yourself out of. That's the biggest thing, right? And if you do, if you're in it, sure you shoot straight, shoot first.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good thought. It's a good practice, I guess. They're not the majority of people that are gonna do shit are gonna want to do it when you're not around because they're pussies for sure. So don't make yourself a target. Um, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's your house.
Mhm.
Even as much as like high school kids, they see that you have a bunch of signs in your yard, they're mad. They're gonna go, vandalize your property, whatever.
Mhm.
Just there's no need for it right now. Just get everything off your car and just take the win and stay silent for now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. You can't take back what's been done.
Yeah.
That's gonna take an awakening on their behalf to see that he's doing good things for people down the road. They're not You can't undo the brainwashing that's taken place already. It's not gonna happen. I
Mhm.
mean I've seen some things from people in my orbit that I'm like, holy crap, you believe this? Like this is honestly what you
Mhm.
believe.
Mhm.
So um if they believe that, I can't imagine what some of these impressionable, younger adults that are Antifa or the Free Palestine or the Queers for Palestine or any of these kids that are willing to go the extra mile because we all remember what it was like when we were kids. We were invincible, right? Nothing could touch us. You didn't make great
Mhm.
decisions. Your decisions weren't based off of the potential consequences. Your decisions were based off emotion. So for some of these people right now, emotions are running really high.
Mhm.
We remember the people that were screaming at the sky in those pink pussy hats, and we remember like all that crap. Well, you could probably multiply that by the fact that the media has just literally told them Donald Trump is Hitler and he's coming for them. So um just don't let it be you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Don't let it be you. And like Pat said, they're these people are not tough one on one. They won't come after you one on one. They'll come after you when it's 10 on one.
Sure.
And at that point it's a really dangerous situation. And they're not just gonna know to come after you. They're gonna know to come after you because you're wearing something or you have something on your car. If you have a MAGA hat, leave that shit at home. If you have the stickers, get them off. If you have campaign signs, take them down and just wait and see what happens with the rest of us.
Yep. Yep. That's a good looking out.
I mean, that would be that's at this stage of the game, that's kind of my I wouldn't call it a fear, but it's kind of one of those things now where it's like, we've won, let civility come back,
Mm.
but I worry that somebody's going to get hurt somewhere in this country because some asshole can't take the fact that they lost. If you don't vote for Kamala, I'm going to leave this country. That mindset, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
If you don't vote for Kamala, I'm going to burn this whole place down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just a worry.
For sure. It's a good one because it's gonna happen in places. Gonna happen while you're getting groceries, someone will key your car. It could be as simple as that. And
Mm-hmm.
you're never gonna see it. There aren't cameras everywhere at grocery stores. You're never gonna be able to figure it out, and they know that. And it's something simple. If no one's around, it's pretty easy.
Right. And
So
that sucks. It
yeah,
sucks.
for sure. It's one of the worst things you can do to somebody. Like it's just a complete violation, right? Like
Yep. You don't get to believe what you want to believe freely of my, vengeance type thing, and that's garbage.
Yep.
I mean, there's plenty of bumper stickers that I see that I saw just the other. This is kind of funny. I'll just share a story with you. We were pulling into it was Walmart actually. We were pulling into Walmart and we saw a Satanic Temple bumper sticker. And my daughter's like, "What is that?" And I was like, "I don't know." And I looked at it and it said Satanic Temple on it, and it had like the Baphomet on there. And I was like, "Well, that's huh." My daughter's like, "What is it?" And I'm like, "Well, it's a Satanic Temple bumper sticker." And she's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Well, they have a church called the Church of Satan." And my daughter's like, "Oh, should we start this car on fire?" And I'm like, I'm like, no, we'll leave it. She's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, I appreciate your thought, but like, you're kind of leaning towards Satan at that point, child." Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you're missing the point here.
Arson's still arson.
Yeah, she kind of chuckled and walked off, but yeah, I don't know. It's out there. Like, I don't. You be you. I don't care who you are. You do you. If that's what you want to believe in, that's fine. You keep your beliefs over there. I'll keep mine here. We'll be civil to each other, and that's where we end. And that's the goal, right? That's the golden rule.
Looks like Republicans have added one more seat to the House, so we need 18 more to be decided. And then they have the majority.
18 more to win the House?
To win the majority.
Let's hope that happens.
Let's get a couple extra.
Well, I'm sure we'll be texting throughout the day.
Yeah, for sure.
If you get any updates, hit me up with it and I'll do the same.
Her concession speech is at 4 o'clock.
That's the other thing that pisses me off. She knew last night she wasn't going to win. Why do you drag it out? Give them their moment.
She still hasn't called.
Call and make the freaking concessions.
We'll see if she even concedes.
You didn't win. You didn't win. Just
listen. It's only Republicans that don't concede elections.
Only. That's it.
Yeah. We're going on 12 hours.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Hillary still hasn't. I mean, she did call and concede, but it was Russia that.
And then she took it back.
It was Russia that, and then it was suburban women, and then it was, whatever.
Yep.
All right. Well, I suppose let's wrap this one up, eh?
Yeah. Check us out on our website, bluecollartakes.com, social media pages, YouTube for another day.
They're not taking us down for this one.
Well, we can't add anything. So like I added the 3 ads the other day to our social. Yeah. I can't add it to YouTube because we got a week before I can add anything, and we'll be down before that week comes up. They'll shut us down for this one for somehow medical misinformation about the election. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's all good.
Blue hair too. They can go fuck themselves.
Yeah, no big deal.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining and take the win. We're taking the W.
Yeah.
Things are about to get spicy.
Now we need to follow through.
Yep, that's what it's got to be.
Change that electorate forever.
Yep. Change is coming, and change is going to be a good thing.
Yep. Right on.
All right, buddy. Well, you take care. We'll talk to you.
Sounds good. See ya.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Blue Collar Takes. Oh, and fuck YouTube.